Welcome to Heroic Man, your daily call to adventure, men. And this week we've been speaking and delving into commitment. As we have last Thursday made our big 3 commitment, I'm just going to keep threading the needle and going and sewing down those commitments that we've made as it's the start of a new quarter, the end of this quarter, the end of 2023 quarter. So it's really important that when we're making commitments, that we understand the tapestry of what we're creating. And I wanted to really look at commitments through the eyes of the hero's journey. Now, if you think about the hero's journey in most films that you see, you'll see a hero going out on a journey and they leave the ordinary world and they make a commitment to go on a journey, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. And there is loads of goodness in terms of understanding what is so important for our commitments in that journey. So on today's call, we're going to look at our commitments and we're going to look at them through the lens of the hero's journey. Now, when you created your misogi, whatever you want to call it, so long as you can look back and say that in 2023 or in 2024, I did X, that is a commitment. It's a real commitment. And understanding what's going to come up for you, how to show up within that commitment is going to be hugely, hugely beneficial for you as a man. And the distinction today, because I really like to give you a distinction to take away from these calls, because once you see a distinction, you can't go back to seeing how life was before that. And the example of this is like the arrow in the FedEx logo. Now, if you know this, there's an arrow in the FedEx logo. And once you see that, you can never go back to not seeing it. You see your life differently when you see through the lens of a distinction. And the way to look at commitment today is being into versus into something, or commitment versus involvement. And we're going to look at the involved versus committed man and how does he show up. And I would always shout this at the start of my fitness camp warm-ups. I'd be in the room and I would see there would be a person's body in the room, yet they would be absent. They would be somewhere else. And they would be thinking about their day and all the things like, hey guys, let's get into the room. Let's be in the room. And that was like, for a lot of people that they used to commit to me say, oh, thank you so much for reminding me about that. I was absolutely elsewhere. I wasn't focused on what I was doing in the present. And guys, we can be, who can attest to this? You can be absent sometimes. So commitment is about being into something versus just in it. We're going to look at that in great detail. So as I was going into like how to be a committed man, looking really looking into what is the signs, or how would I gauge the difference between a committed man versus someone who is just interested? Well, the first one and the first sign of commitment is a request for assistance. Now, write that down. That is so freaking important. And guys overlook this all the time because we may be part of a tribe, but we still own the lone wolf mindset. So often the first sign of commitment is a request for assistance. And we're shown this in film and in story. Think about it, in a hero's journey. In order for our hero to leave the ordinary world, he must cross a threshold. And when he's doing that, or when he's done that, he meets his supernatural aid. If you think about the Disney movie Hercules, that's one that springs to mind because I had Effie watching it the other day. As soon as Hercules decides to go and find out, where he comes from, and he goes to find, to become a god again, he goes and he meets Philoctetes, the little character who is played by Danny DeVito, I think. And what happens is he proves his commitment by requesting assistance. There was literally a little moment where you see the character in a position where he must surrender. He must surrender and say, listen, I can't do this alone or in my current capacity. And I think as men, we really struggle with this. Because what we do is we say, oh yeah, I know, which is bullshit. And I honestly, coming from a place, I was in this place for a long time. I was like, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that. Guys, who's resonating with this? And it's actually our ego that stops us from surrendering and saying, actually, I don't really understand this. I intellectually kind of understand it, but I've never practiced it in a way where I truly embody that. And the big canary in the mine for if you really know something is your results. I said to Poppy this morning, I was like, talking about my goal. And I'm like, I really don't know how to do this. If I'm being honest, I'm bullshitting myself saying I know how to do this when I don't, because my results don't speak the evidence to prove this is right. And I'm going to go and solve that. And it was just my ego. I'd pushed my ego aside and I had to surrender. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to reach out to a mentor and say, listen, I really need help with this. I'm really struggling. So we have to surrender to the fact that if we know something, but we aren't doing it, we just know it intellectually. It's the action that the knowing really takes place. We've all heard that quote, to know and not to do is not to know. So when someone says, I know what to do, and like, say I used to say this in body transformation, like someone would sit in front of me and say, yeah, I know how to lose weight. And I'm like, can I challenge you? I say, your current situation says otherwise. And I'm saying this from a loving place. I'd have guys come in saying, yeah, I know, I can switch it on whenever I want. I'm like, lovingly call bullshit on that. And so sometimes we really have to do that work. The key word here is surrender. Surrender to the fact we don't know. So you need to ask yourself, what do I intellectually know but have a real challenge embodying? What is it? Is it getting clients? Is it raising your fees? Is it about product launch? Is it about parenting even? Is it something in your relationship? Like a big part of what I've surrendered to is that actually I really didn't understand relationship dynamics until this point. I spent a lot of time learning from Robert Glover over the last couple of years. Really helped me. I really didn't understand that. So that first point is like, there's two things going on there, guys. Is that the first sign of commitment is actually a request for assistance. And the second point is surrendering the ego and saying, yeah, I really don't understand this. I really don't know because my results are telling me otherwise. And finally, on this point, some people feel that asking or requesting is a form of begging, when in fact it's a gift. Like when clients reach out to me and ask me a question or ask for my support, it's a chance for me to do my job and contribute or to grow myself. There's nothing more frustrating as a coach and as a consultant, as most of you all know, than clients who don't ask questions. There would be no coaches if nobody needed help, advice, or guidance. The second sign of commitment is overcoming the secret test of character. Now, this is well documented in a lot of films. My favorite one being The Matrix. I've watched that film so many times. Great film. Go rewatch it. And this is best exemplified by the moment where Neo is offered the blue or the red pill. And he's there, and you as a viewer, you're in the film, and he's presented with these two pills, and you're like, oh my God, there's a real. You're in that moment with him. You're like, oh, there's a real possibility he could choose the blue pill, because you know that there's like the safe and the known versus the unknown and the unsafe and the unfamiliar. In that moment, he's been tested. Like, he's already done a little bit. He's been, is it Morpheus? Morpheus has shown him what can be. And it's like, this is the point. And you're going to get that happen to you. If you've made your commitment, you're going to get a secret test of character. Whether that comes from a shapeshifter, a temptress, whether it comes from a boss or a co-worker, whether it comes from your kids, if you've made a real commitment, you are going to be tested. It's written in story. It happens all the time. You're going to be tested. You're going to be shown this. And if it's not a big enough commitment, you won't be tested. That's the true sign that if it's a misogi or not. Is it really going to cause someone to say to you, are you really doing the right thing here? And I had it. I remember the first time I went to sell coaching to someone for over £3,000. I said, hey, do you want to sign up for this? It's £3,000. And this guy goes, Ben, what are you doing? Who's been giving you this information? You can't charge that for coaching. That's insanity. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, am I going the right direction here? And I just signed up with my coach at the time. He was like, well, you can either listen to that guy, or you can go and test if that's going to happen. The second person signed up. So you're going to get that secret test of character, and you've got to overcome that. And so for those of you who've made those commitments, you might already have experienced this, because it happens soon after the real commitment. I remember just a side one. I committed to a 12-week body transformation, and I was about to recommit to the second tranche where I was, taking it. I was going to go on stage and all that sort of thing. And my mum got ill, and in that moment, I had to recommit, like a secret test of character. How bad did I want that? I remember sitting in the hospital canteen eating chicken and rice, looking over at all the nice pies and stuff that they served in the hospital, thinking, how bad do I really want this? And is doing this going to serve what's going on at the moment in my life? And it absolutely did. I recommitted to what was going on for me, and I showed up in the best possible way for the people around me. So you're going to be tested. And this is just simply a willingness to embark on your journey. So this is really just a test to test if you're really willing to embark on this journey. And it's there because if you get past this, you're getting past 90% of the energy on any launch goes in the first 10% of the journey. And there's an example with a space rocket, and it's really, really profound. I'll probably use that on a future call. So if you've written out your misogi, your goals, there will be a moment where you're going to have to make a decision. And the decision about the secret test of character is, what do I have to let go of? Write that down, guys. What do I have to let go of? It may be alcohol, it may be a partner, it may be a price point, it could be a configuration of your day, a business idea, a configuration of a relationship. You're going to have to let go of something. And that's what that blue versus red pill test is all about. Are you willing to let go of the safe and known that might not even be serving you anyway? And if you watch The Matrix, you'll get that. It's like Neo's letting go of his past, Mr. Anderson. He's letting go of that to go into the Matrix and find out what he can really be capable of. Really powerful. And then the final one is, how does our man the hero show up committed versus involved? Well, if you were to just if you've got a piece of paper in front of you, I want you to do this exercise. On the left-hand column, put the word involved. On the right-hand column, put the word committed. And a committed man shows up very differently to an involved man. So an involved man shows up passive. He believes that holding back is going to serve the group more. He tells himself that his win or his question or his opinion doesn't matter. He gets through a program. He gets through it. Oh yeah, I got through that call with Ben. It was good. It was not my head at the end. And he shoots for complete. In his work, he does enough not to get fired, just enough. And he works on it from a place of conditions. I'll get involved if. I'll get involved in that if. I'll train if. It's always conditional. Whereas the committed man is active. He pushes towards his fears. He tells himself in a group that his insights and what he has to say will benefit everyone. And he gives to the group. Not just gets from or gets through. He gives to. And then his actual way that he doesn't just shoot for complete, he shoots for beyond expectations. So that's why he does 10x his pay grade. And that's why he keeps getting promoted. That's why he keeps getting more clients. And when it comes to conditions, he doesn't say, I'll be there if. He's there, I'm there. He's that man that he says, I'm there, you know he's going to be there. Now, I want you to ask yourself before you depart the call today, how have you been showing up? How have you been showing up in your program? In Heroic Man, in your relationship, in your own business, in your program? Have you been showing up involved at times? And is it a time to go, the question for this one is, where could I go all in where I've been holding back? It's my favorite question. Where can I go all in where I've been holding back? That's all I wanted to share on commitment for today, guys. Now, there's a couple of things that are really going to hit you today. There's going to be something that's really resonated with you, I can guarantee. My invitation is to go and journal on that, write in school, and really get clear on where have you been involved versus committed, and go and clear up that commitment. Thank you for being on the call today, and I'll see you tomorrow.